21, stand for a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Brenda, if you could call the roll, please.
Hoffa,
Here.
Frankel,
Here.
Cottle, House,
Here.
Edric, Jones, here, Fleming,
Here.
Maynard,
Here.
Monroe,
Here.
Mallory, Knuckles,
Here.
Todd, Greedy.
Here. All right, so I don't think everybody got minutes through the mail or through emails. So I think we need to table that. I know I did not get it, Bob, so he did not get a hard copy so we will just table minutes for next meeting, so that we can get them out along with tonight's meeting. All right. So number 4 on the item, it says public hearing, but this really is not a public hearing. The official public hearing happened at the last meeting. Now, there was a lot of discussions. I was not here. I did review the recording of it. So we are here to make a decision, but I think we need to also hear some more comments so that everybody, I'm a firm believer that everybody should be heard within reason. We're not going to ramble on. So we will hear from the Nelson side first. And then we'll hear from anybody that's opposed, and then kind of like what we did the last meeting, and then a rebuttal time back from Nelson. So why don't we set, since it is my prerogative to open it back up, I can set the guidelines of how long we're going to listen. No more than 15 minutes, no more than 10 minutes on the rebuttal, or 15 and 15 and 5 minutes on a rebuttal. 15, 15, and 5. All right, so like I said, this is not a public hearing. That was concluded and tabled last week. Be readdressed at this meeting. So if somebody is here for Nelson's, right? They would like to come up, and any other information relating to the request that is at hand.
I'll let them pass around what Ms. Nelson came around. Right here.
All right, I'm drunk.
All right. Good evening. My name is Hannah Krishanik. I am a local attorney who is representing the Nelsons, and I'm going to speak about a statement they gave on behalf of the proposal for the rezoning of their property. Nelson Cattle Farm is located at 8014 Wheeling Pike in Jonesboro. Their focus is to raise quality beef and provide our community with locally grown options. All cattle are bred, born, and raised on their family farm, and they currently sell beef by quarter, half, and whole options. All meat is processed at a state-approved butcher, Adair Processing in Pendle, Indiana. Customers currently pick up their meat directly from the facility, and during quarantine, they had massive spikes in their beef sales. Their customer base increased dramatically, and therefore it became a need to sell meat by the package. Some families do not have the freezer space or finances to buy farm fresh meat in bulk from the butcher. The Nelsons came up with the idea to open the Beef Boutique LLC. They spoke with Greene County Health Department about the standards needed to uphold and sell beef from a freezer on their own property. All meat would still be processed and inspected by the state at Adair Processing, and they would transport the frozen beef home and place it in their approved freezer. The beef would remain in its original packaging and be sold frozen to their clients. They also spoke with the Indiana Board of Animal Health and obtained a wholesale meat distributor's license from the state. They then created an LLC and retail merchant certificate, Their accountant advised them to verify the zoning policies, which is something they had not taken into consideration. They are currently zoned as agriculture, which is prohibiting them from opening the business. The Beef Boutique is an agricultural-based forum. All products sold are produced right there on the farm. Opening the Beef Boutique would bring education to the community about the farm-to-table process and would encourage the support of our local farmers and small business owners. The business would put customers in direct contact with their farmer. They would have healthier food options while bringing home income to the businesses of Grant County. This boutique will not impact any land near them, will not impact any roadways or neighboring properties in any way. They are using and upgrading an existing structure to house the business, which is already on the property and won't need any type of additional building other than adding a wall or two inside their existing pole barn. They will have limited hours, only a couple of days a week, and do not expect any traffic issues associated with this new business. The Nelsons have a family farm, and they are striving to make a difference and give back to the community. Brittany is a board member of a local nonprofit organization, Underdog Salvation. They host several fundraisers each year that raise money for this rescue. At Christmas, they host photos with Santa event, where all proceeds go to purchase books, stuffed animals, and hygiene products for the First Light Child Advocacy Center here in Grant County. Nelson Cattle Farms also sponsors the Gas City Farmers Market, and Brittany serves on the promotions committee to make the farmers market happen. They're also sponsors for Eastbrook Youth Sports and Grant County's Tobacco Coalition. Nelson Cattle Farms is registered with the State Egg Board for egg sales and an active member of Indiana Grown. After the last meeting, a complaint was filed with the Board of Animal Health against this, from what I believe is someone with the Area Planning Commission, based on the conversation that happened at that last meeting and what the complaint was for. The Nelsons have 2 letters and reports saying that they are in compliance with everything for the state, which I have copies of. This was from James Noble, Board of Animal Health Compliance Officer, who went out to investigate a consumer complaint. The investigation was initiated after the board received a consumer complaint. Mr. Noble went to the farm and talked with Brittany, who stated that they sell cattle of their own raising to the general public. She said the animals they sell are processed at Adair Processing. The 8 located at 190 North Union Street in Pennville. It was found that there were pictures posted as advertisement that showed beef products packaged in white butcher paper, no inspection legend visible. It was brought to Brittany's attention that in the future it would be highly recommended all photos show a market inspection. And following that, he found no non-compliance. And then there's an email from Carrie Scher, and she said the same thing. Per their conversation, you're able to take your animals into Adair's other facilities that slaughter and process under inspection and sell the meat that bears the mark of inspection on its wholesale, as long as you are not opening up the packaging and repackaging it, and you are storing it correctly. If you want to put your logo or sticker on the package, that is all right, as long as you do not cover the label with the legend on it. And she said, from our conversation, it sounds that you are in compliance with the Board of Animal Health. You will want to check your local health department for retail licensing. Brittany's also talked to her neighbors about this rezoning, and which is what she has passed out. That statement said, we are aware of the rezone appeal for Kyle and Brittany Nelson at 8014 Wheeling Pike, Jonesboro, Indiana. This will change the property from agriculture to general business for the purpose of opening the beef boutique. We are aware that this will not affect our property taxes or property value. We support this family and their endeavors. We ask you allow this ability to bring the business to Grant County residents. That is signed by Beth Ebert, Christian and Cale Grindle, Tyler and Karen McNabb, Randy Atkins, Scott and Kylie Lee, Hannah and Steve Kuykendall, Carol Welton, Katie and Brian McAvoy, Beverly Smithson, Jay and Joyce Phillips. I can't read the other names, but you all have a copy of all of that. And I believe at listening to the last meeting, there were some issues with possibility, the proximity of the Nelson's manure and mud field to the creek. And while that's not the purpose of this meeting, I just wanted to address the implication of their non-compliance. Brittany has contacted the Grant County Soil and Water Board, who say they are 100% in compliance with their cattle having access to the ditch, not the creek. Their property is grandfathered in since the previous owners raised cattle, and it's my understanding that you can only be in violation of anything water related. if you have capo hog or chicken building where you are pumping manure in the pit. The Nelsons are working diligently to provide the best product for their customers in Grant County. Selling products on our farm would only increase the knowledge of supporting local businesses and spending your money within our community. They came directly to the Grant County area plan to ask for assistance with properly opening the business, and we asked to consider allowing them to do so and help with that process. I also think there was an issue with the kennel and the septic or sewer line, and I do have a receipt showing that that has been fixed where the sewer line has been ran into the septic tank as per the code that is required. That's all I have, but I don't believe there are other people.
Okay, so we got about 5 minutes or so. Is there anybody else who wants to talk on?
Hello, I am Dr. Brooke Little. I'm owner and veterinarian at Eaton Veterinary Clinic. Nelson Cattle Farm, which would be the supplier for the beef boutique, has been a client of ours at the clinic since 2009, so well over a decade. So I'm just going to kind of talk about, if you were to approve their rezoning, what kind of role we would play in their business. So my associate, Dr. Kelly Weitzel, has been doing their cattle work ever since 2009. We serve them for calf foot vaccinations. We see their sick calves when calves are sick. We do prenatal ultrasounds and calving care for the cows and heifers. And we also obviously prescribe medications when cows are sick. So what that means is that the beef that is going into for consumers to purchase is quality beef. So DVM, or veterinary prescribed antibiotics, increases withdrawal time compliance, which decreases antibiotic resistance within our communities. So bonus, we're not all resistant to amoxicillin, yay. You've already heard they run a cow-calf operation, which means the transmission of infectious diseases is less likely. All calves are born and raised on site. They're not purchasing outside cattle from other states where, you know, requirements are different. May or may not be getting health certificates. So the likelihood of bringing in infectious diseases or zoonotic diseases from their cattle, extremely low. The Board of Animal Health is something I've had to do a lot of looking into. I'm not a state veterinarian, so the Board of Animal Health requirements is not something I'm super familiar with. But after chatting with Dr. Melissa Justice, who is a field veterinarian for this area, she has assured me that the Board of Animal Health heavily monitors the retail beef market. It's probably way more monitored than poultry and pork markets even. So if BOA says that they are in compliance, then I can assure you that they are in compliance with whatever requirements that BOA has for them. And as we all know, the pandemic has made access to quality beef very difficult, not for lack of beef, but for lack of processing. And like we already heard, the pandemic has made, you know, freezer beef, yeah, but not everybody can afford a quarter of a cow. I think we just bought a quarter of a cow and it was well over $700. So, and that's actually at a very good price. So not everybody can afford $700 worth of beef at a time. So the fact that the Nelsons are trying really, really hard to bring quality farm to table, quality beef to their community is really inspiring. And I would hope and pray that you guys will approve their rezoning so that they can bring this really awesome business to your community.
So we've got about, what, 2 minutes left? 2, 3 minutes?
Got more than that.
Okay. How many we got left? How much?
About 5.5.
Okay. I was just, okay. So about 5.5 minutes. I'll just say it quick.
My name's Eric Wright. I live in Fairmount, Indiana. Do I need to sign in?
Yeah, we'll leave that for the minutes.
Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak, and I want to say thank you to Kyle and Brittany for living here in Grant County and living in Grant County and wanting to start a business here in Grant County and currently running their kennel business that they own now. I've known the Nelson family for years, all the way back to Kyle's grandfather, his dad, my brother was 4-H. I know the family. They've been our county for a long time. And in fact, Kyle's grandfather used to have an egg farm and sold eggs out their farm for retail for years. Kyle's dad has been a cattle farmer and a hay farmer for years and currently does that. And so the Nelsons have been around for a long time, for 80 plus years, count the grandfather in there. They have a clean and respectable farm and always have. Drive by their farms and they keep it up in nice condition. Kyle and Brittany are willing to fill a demand. As some of you may know, I'm the county president of Farm Bureau, Inc. And Farm Bureau for years has worked with the small family farms, trying to establish retail businesses through the farm operations, filling a need such as beef, whether it be produce, local grown, whatever. The consumer today is wanting to know where their food is coming from. They don't always want to go to the grocery store and buy their food. They want to know where it's coming from. They want to meet the farmer. They want to know how it's raised, whether it be produce or meat. And a lot of our produce or meat products are shipped in from thousands of miles away, sit in a warehouse for 3 weeks, and it shows up at the grocery store. And the consumer is changing. The consumer is demanding to know where these products are coming from. They want to buy local and they want to buy fresh. You know, I've heard some rumors around, I don't know if they're rumors, but just the fact that if Nelson's close up their business or their business doesn't work, then they might start a used car lot there. That's foolish. Kyle works at Redline Equipment, mechanic. He's not going to come home and work on cars all evening and have used cars at his farm. This is a cattle farm. It's been a cattle farm for 80 plus years, back when the Hamiltons owned it. It is set up for agriculture, nothing else. In fact, there is a lot just down the street from where Nelson's live along I-69 that is zoned, I believe, still zoned general business. So if a car lot was going to show up, it would have already happened. So I would encourage you to work with the Nelsons. It is my understanding that if for some reason their business does close or whatever, they are willing to sign a contract with the county stating that if something would happen with their business, that the zoning would revert back to agriculture. And I think that's showing that they're willing to work with the county, and I would hope the county would be willing to work with them. You know, we need people that believe in our county and live in our county and want to establish businesses here, not always having somebody come in from another area and then they up and leave us. They believe in our county and we should believe in them, and I hope you will work with them. This is something that's important to them, and I hope it's important to the county. Other businesses are watching us as a governing board and our county, and so we need to show a good representation here. Thank you.
Got a few minutes left, or how are we looking?
Yeah, a minute and a half.
Minute and a half, one more. Talk and then sign in.
I'll stop.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lachine. I am the president and founder of Underdog Salvation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit animal rescue serving Grant County. I would like to take a moment and speak on behalf of the Nelsons. Brittany Nelson has been a board member since we began in 2017. The Nelson family has always supported the organization, from fostering animals, transportation, to donating proceeds from many of their events directly to the care of the animals we save. Brittany uses her amazing marketing brain to help us with social media, as well as planning adoption events and fundraisers. She has also hosted numerous fundraisers for us through Stop Mark Sweets, a business the Nelsons started from the ground up that is thriving. The family wholeheartedly gives back to the rescue each time the opportunity is given. Without the work and the care that the Nelson family puts into the community, we would not have saved the number of animals we have saved. The Nelsons support so many small businesses and nonprofits in the community. They are always looking for the opportunity to give back and to inspire others. Please allow them to continue to grow their mission of local community support.
Thank you. That probably uses up our time there.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. 30
I
seconds.
can do that. I need to sign that out.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm here, I'm Bill Rock, I'm from Gas City. I'm not here as a Gas City mayor, I'm here as a Gas City resident. I've lived here all my life. So I don't want you, but I have shopped at the Nelsons. I know the Nelsons. I get my beef, I get my eggs. It's a clean operation. It sounds like to me they've covered your issues. If they sell that farm to somebody else, that come into a used car lot or something else, if they're willing to sign a contract, that they would bring it back to agriculture. So I'm in support of a young family starting a new business. You see it with hairdressers all the time in houses. You see it with, we've rezoned in Gas City where people have put a mechanical shop and they have signed the same deal with us in order to bring something else in that they sell it. Then of course, we have the right to say what it is, but it sounds like they've done what they needed to. It's nice to see a young family that wants to stay in Grant County and support Grant County.
All right, thank you. I think that was a good 30 seconds there.
Wasn't much over there.
All right, so is there anybody that's here to speak in opposition or against rezoning of this property? Where'd they all go? I thought we'd have some. Are they out in the hallway? Anybody in the hallway? All right. There's nobody here in opposition to rezoning. Okay, so by rules, there's really nothing to rebuttal. So we really don't need 5 minutes, or do we give them 5 minutes, Kyle? There's nothing to rebuttal.
Your discretion.
I said there's nothing to rebuttal since I didn't present anything, so we will not do the remaining 5. All right, so what we have before us is like anything else, we are an advisory board to the county commissioners. We're going to make a recommendation of like favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation at all. At the last meeting, there was a request from, I believe, people among us up here, minus me, that we come up with some type of ordinance to pass on something concrete. And Ryan, you're going to review some of these items.
Yeah.
So we got a couple. So you got a couple of them that you handed out at the beginning.
Right. The two that we've handed out, one is with the restrictions. The first 2 pages is basically the ordinance with restrictions. The second one is the ordinance with stipulations. Stipulations that we have on there, obviously, we can add to. So that would be the two that we were talking about as far as doing stipulations and restrictions.
So basically, we rezone from agriculture to general business.
Right.
And one would check off a bunch of things that you can't do.
Right.
Which is a hefty amount of things.
Right.
You're still,
And basically leaving what they can do. But the other one is changing this again, the whole property. We can, the whole
Right.
property. And then the second option would be the whole property and then allowing only general business within in a confined space.
Right.
Area.
And this is, again, this is examples to get something in your hands, which is what we were trying to ask. So the property is rezoned general business with the following stipulations. That is just an example that we could add to.
You're talking about exclusionary zoning
Right.
tonight. You're not talking about any others that, I think there's 4 other options, or at least 3.
Well, we've got other options here. These were just 2 ordinances you wanted to
Yeah, okay.
get in hand.
Okay, so the other one would be, the other one's on the last page here. Other options is to do a property split. So right now it's one property. Just to split part of that property
Right.
to be.
Point of order, if I could, please.
Yes,
Have a public hearing,
yes,
an
we do.
official public
Mhm.
for a recommendation for rezoning.
Correct.
We are at this point talking the approval or the favorable rate of that. Something that's being now presented. This would be something we ought to be talking about in addition to or afterwards if they were to ask for that to be done under this.
I agree that they came and requested a rezoning. So we got 2 options of rezoning.
No, we didn't. We had
They came-
one option. We had an option that was presented at our meeting, and that's what we ought to be voting on here tonight. Now, what you have here, they may want to come back with that. But I don't see how we can change horses in the middle of the stream and come up with additional kind of approval. I think that what we're all interested in, doing business within our.
Correct, that's our mission.
We don't have a problem with that. But for us to come down now and we're going to amend the original intent of the rezoning request, I don't think that's proper. So first, on what was brought before us and what we started as an official hearing, this would require another whole different process, which I'm not against them doing. In fact, I like some of the ideas. But, you know, do not think that we are sitting here to amend.
What are we,
I don't think that's within our.
what are we amending? They have to be rezoned, right?
They has to be resolved.
And then we are accommodating to rezone, but as a group, aren't we not saying we don't want them to be able to do everything that general business would be able to do?
But I also want to say that why isn't this is being heard here at the planning commission, but not at the board of zoning appeals. And to me, that's where this lies, where it needs to be heard at, because they make the decisions on the zoning as far as what.
Well, that did come up, and that was, but within our guidelines, we're not, with what it, you might be able to explain it better, but I think within what it's currently zoned, it doesn't have that option to be able to be appealed for.
Well, what I'm hearing from Ryan too, they're asking what the BZA would do.
Right.
They're asking for special exemption. They said they would go with that. If you ask for special exemption, get that out of the BZA,
You need to come
you're
back.
asking them, that way, if the business closes in the future, it goes away. The BZA does that.
That's our
And I've been here almost 10 years, and that's why the BZA has been around. We're not changing it now. Well, you have to pass practice.
With spatial exceptions in the general.
It's important. It should have been filed in the first.
Right.
Right, Chuck, can I say something?
Sure.
I don't think anybody here is against everything else. That's not the intent of this board. I did do some due diligence in checking the health and Indianapolis and that, and, you know, if the lady wanted to mention names, fine, that shows that a board member has done their work. I was satisfied with Dr. Serb. She sent the compliance officer up, and he said exactly what the lady told us he said. So as far as health conditions and stuff like that with cattle, that's not the issue here tonight. That's just a follow-up that we did to ensure that even that we take care of. Nobody is trying to prevent this lady from operating a business. We have been down this road many, many times, of granting something like this, exclusionary zoning. That's something to me that's intended for, we just did some, regulars, just a few months ago. We did something over in Swayze. We did that for Dollar General. They have been good stewards throughout the process here, and we did several things for that. That's where what we're talking about tonight, my purpose is, that's where it should stay, with somebody that's gonna bring multiple jobs, pay multiple taxes, and they're being good people about it. Now, we did that for Kenny Cates, and Kenny's a good friend. I've talked to him. He wasn't doing it for Kenny Cates. He was doing it for the city. And we allowed him to split that property so that the business could take hold and do things. I don't think anybody here, I'm not expecting them to do anything any different. If they want to split that property and go that route, I'm not going to say no. I don't know how everybody else will, but I'm not going to say no on that. But I do believe, I mean, there's options. Like Kyle, I'll defer to Kyle or refer back to Kyle on this. I had a conversation with him. There's at least 3 or 4 options here, right?
Well, what we discussed earlier, Bob, was, I mean, what Mr. Bothwell's saying today is, before you is they've asked to be rezoned the entire acreage.
Yeah, we don't,
You know,
I don't want to do that.
Right, from agriculture to business, so that's what's on. Now, you can say, what you're talking about, it's another option, is say, well, property split, come back and determine it later. You could also, talked about, the issue of putting restrictions on the agricultural zone. There's also a written commitment. They brought up agreements or statutory, we can make an agreement where you can put any type of stipulations you want. That would kind of get you to, I think, what Rex and Lois are talking about is, the exception. Now, the problem is, where they're at in agriculture is not listed as a special exception. It's just yay or nay. You can't get that special exception for the type of business they want to do under agriculture. That's
But
why
if
it's
they want
not.
to divide that property.
If they divided the property, then I think you're still talking about a rezoning, but you're rezoning a small area rather than 33 acres. Now, that's not an easy process either, because then you gotta get a surveyor, you gotta split, you gotta make a new parcel. I mean, that's gonna be a delay, but
What about going back to what we had discussed about changing the classification to an S classification?
well, that would take, it's kind of what I hear you guys saying, but that's changing the ordinance. That would be a commissioners in other towns to change the table, to change the ordinance. That's doable if, the commissioners want to do that. I mean, like we said, you're trying to think of all kinds of different ways to do it. What's the best way? Unfortunately, right here, it's like Bob said, we're rezone or not rezone, recommendations. So, those are options to work out, and maybe they're better, but at least at this point, it's just, are you going to rezone 33 acres or not? Now, you can make, something to say, hey, I want a different route. And
Well, my preference is to go back to the Board of Zoning. That's where my preference is.
well, that, go to the Board of Zoning would take an ordinance change by the commissioners and the other entities.
Well, and send it back to the commissioners with no
Well-
recommendation, or a recommendation to do what you're suggesting.
I don't think that, I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't think that would be fair to the people that came and presented this at this time. That's something for us to, we need to address their issue now and then tie up our loose ends after.
Well, I agree with that.
As far as what we did at the last meeting, we tabled this issue specifically to allow Mr. Malat to bring us some ordinances that we could look at to use in relation to what they have.
Right.
So to be able to actually, I think, make a move based upon what's in front of us would be okay procedurally, because we made a motion to table until we received that information to move forward on. So I think we could act based upon the information we have tonight, if that's what the board so chose. And I think we need to act one way or another to get them taken care of. Then we have a discussion to go about ourselves on how we want to move forward in the next instance that comes up. I sat with you years ago, and I said the same thing when this came up last meeting. This is what the whole idea of special exemptions were for, to go through the BZA, because then that ties it to them specifically. Once it's done and it's gone. And then it reverts back. That was supposed to be our quick mechanism, because we did not want to, at the time, pursue spot zoning. And that's how I feel about this one. I feel this is kind of like spot zoning. I know you said there's people close by, but I feel like this is spot zoning. In my mind, unless it's adjacent across the street, it's spot zoning. However, there are mechanisms to allow for them to do what they want to do. If that's what's in front of us, then I think we should act with what's in front of us now and then address their issue, the issues we have down the line.
Well, that's not addressing what Bob said.
I don't believe there was a specific recommendation at our last meeting to table this with the instructions to alternatives.
Oh, yeah. No, I listened to the tape. I heard that. I listened to the tape. I heard that.
We asked them to come up with something. I don't want to discourage the business.
Well,
And I certainly don't either. But in terms of rezoning, at this point, to rezone that entire property, what we asked to do, that's what the original intent was. I see it is still to have the entire property rezoned with, some promises that we'll do this. Or won't do that.
Well,
I think, narrow it down to where property split. It would be, if we could get it to the BCA, I think, appropriate. I'd love for the property to, for the business to be engaged. We're doing it.
well, from my understanding, the way it's on the books now, this is the only method to change it to make them legal with what we have right now. Because they cannot go to BZA in the current form. So the request is a change
Why couldn't they go to BCA? We asked, why just one?
because,
Because it's not.
it's not one of those things that you can address.
That the properties that culture if they have the business on, right?
That they want to have the business
They
on.
want it.
But the special, what Brenda said is the special exemption process, when we send them to BZA, does not include what they're wanting to do. So it was left out. So we'd have to modify our ordinance, if I understood you correctly,
Right.
to include that in to be able to do that. But that would still require, change
Council
the county council.
and all the communities would have to approve that to change the ordinance. That could be a long process.
Which that would be, ideally, that's how I.
And that maybe that would be the
We're right here, right now.
So what we have before us is two recommendations, basically, that I think we could address. Option one or option two. All this is a recommendation to the county commissioners that they would either address or rezone the whole thing with a bunch of exclusions, or rezone the whole thing with limited use.
Well, if you're sending it back to commissioners, there's other options,
unfavorable. Well,
or
what's
not.
presented to us though is a request for rezoning.
We can put it back to the commissioners.
Well, that's probably where it's gonna go, and then they'll try, who knows what they're gonna do.
Right.
But we could say, this is maybe the option of the two that we have. If it, or we make no recommendations, they decide that we need to look and address going forward situations like this. Do we need to get that code changed, in the ordinance so that these type of things actually go to BZA, or most everybody here thinks it belongs? Because this isn't the only farm out there that's doing this, I'm sure. So if they wanted to do it, which down the road, which would be the best way for all these businesses or potential businesses that agriculture businesses like one gentleman from the farm bureau or whatever talked about. They wanted to follow through and do it the right way. We'd be able to probably do it down in the future. Because that's just held for the current property owner, right? So once they sell, that goes away. For this is, I understand it stays permanent, but if we do it permanent with restrictions, it follows the property, not the owner. So yes, I think as a board, everybody here wants to see, knows that they want to do it the right way. They've been above board and all their accommodations and addressing all different issues. I think we owe it to them to act in a timely manner to accommodate them, but I think we also need to address the issue as a whole and maybe the better way of proceeding with these type of requests.
So we're talking about them selling beef only, right?
Well, I thought there was gonna be a little other, well, it's gonna be classified what, general business, and what are the types of things they can do in general business?
General business.
To just about anything. Anything, but they're limited, and on the one, it's limited to just, 15 by 15 type area, so how much you can really sell.
I do believe, if I remember correctly, she said that she had some friends who were vendors that could maybe sell some small trinkets or something.
Right, crafty type stuff.
But that wouldn't be the main.
but it's limited to that small area.
The most restrictive of the two ordinances in front of us would probably be the second one.
Right, limited to that specific thing. So we could maybe make a recommendation of, let's say, the second one with, and maybe we could relate to the commissioners also that we think we need to look into how we handle this type of scenario in the future. If we need to change that block in the tables to show that it should go to BZA, get whatever that is to make that accomplished.
I mean, there is the written commitment process, you know, can be a lot more. The terms can expire if they were to sell the property. I mean, you know, that would take an agree, you know, you guys may require that. They've talked about an agreement, so there is a way to kind of get where you kind of have like a special exception without having to go there.
And that would be like the slaughterhouse. That's a great example of what we did for the slaughterhouse. Written commitment. They went from ag to.
And it didn't work.
No, they didn't.
Well,
The business, yeah. So that is, okay.
that's what keeps coming back to haunt us. We expected that to be long-term, and it didn't.
Well, that has been recorded. If you record it, it does follow the property. Can be enforced.
Well, he's coming, the new guy's coming back now.
Right.
To make some deals.
Well,
To try to take it off.
right.
Yeah, he wants to bury his hides.
But I did see that ordinance. It is on there,
Yeah.
so it is binding on him, whether he believes it or not.
If we were to go the other route, I don't want to delay much. If we went the other with what you just presented or talked about as far as making a contract to the property or to what they want to do, that just runs with that. That's starting almost from scratch again.
I could support that. Why not take it what he said, if we send it back to the commissioner, tell them that we want, like, if that business is closed, we want them to write special exemption, that it would stay agriculture and the business would go away. That's what he just said, that's what he just said.
So,
I agree with that, because I have nothing against it,
right.
open it up, like Bob said, we have done things over the years here. It bit us in the butt 5 or 6 years down the road.
So we could
split the property. That's the easiest thing that I can do. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. We did it for Kenny, and there's no reason, and that was a little bigger operation that we benefited more from.
All right, so we got several options here. Stick with recommending a ordinance change. And like Robert was saying, the second one that just limits to that specific room. Well, the other one would be maybe sending up a no recommendation to rezoning, but you have restrictions listed to the property. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that the format? Like we do with the slaughterhouse?
We sent a favorable recommendation with the stipulations for the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
Okay. A favorable, right? But not the rezone, not just a favorable, or did we rezone?
Yeah, we rezoned from ag to.
Okay, so more stipulations like that rather than the number 2 one there.
Everything we're talking about the option. Rezone the entire.
Yeah, yeah. And then we, so are we more, I don't want to take a motion or anything yet, so now we're kind of like we're leaning towards doing restrictions. Rezoning with restrictions, specific restrictions that would expire with the sale of property. Well, whatever restrictions we put in there. what we do with the slaughterhouse, right?
Can I ask the APC this? If she is willing, if she would be willing to withdraw it and to redo it into splitting the property, can we, instead of, because what our ordinance says is that she would, if she withdraws, she can't redo it for 6 months. Would we set that aside?
Yeah, we could do that, set that aside. I'm thinking 100%.
We make that happen in a timely manner.
I think we can.
Well, are they kind of agreeable to that before we?
What's your third?
Who's the spokesperson for these dogs? She needs to come to that podium. She needs to come to that podium.
Yeah.
She needs to come to the podium to speak to all of us. Yes, she needs to speak at the podium.
Please, thank you.
Okay.
So, I mean, as far as if we were to withdraw it, we're not waiting the 6-month time period.
I think we would act as quick as we could address the other issue or the other method, I guess.
So we withdraw it, we come back in a month with the property split. And what?
And we,
The small property that you're wanting to operate a business
Just the
on.
barn.
well, just the box, or are we going to pick it just the
Yeah,
box?
it would probably be the house, the accessory building, that section.
But then are we going to make, if we do it bigger than that box, are we going to make restrictions on it?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, you know, we asked her, she's asking us to split the property.
Doing the same thing.
We'd be
But
doing
then we're
this-
still paying for a surveyor, and I mean, what added expenses are we having to split this property? What am I looking at to do that?
So let's say she goes through that, and we're going to still put restrictions on it, similar to what we would do if it was the whole thing.
So all we've done then is split the property and then throw restrictions on that small.
Which to me, I'm sorry, this which to me sounds like a lot of added work to still have the same restrictions on the same property that expire with us. And I mean, this has been a lot of stress on our family, and we have worked very hard to get here. And so I'm just asking for, you know, the most reasonable answer for us in our home.
So to me, yes, and first point, splitting and then putting the same amount of restrictions if it was the whole thing or a small part, what's the difference? I mean, if she's restricted it's for the whole property, whether it's 15 by 15 foot or
And
32
we're
acres.
still facing the same philosophical debate that we're going to have with that.
We're
small
just,
property.
what it looks like to me, by asking her to split that property, we're asking her to spend more money.
Right.
And we're gonna come back with the same answer that we want to put restrictions on.
Right, so, yeah. If
And
the
I think
restrictions are, you
that's-
can
I
only
think
do it at
that's
these
in the
buildings.
code.
So,
I wouldn't leave restrictions on that.
and just split it down that little. That's really something.
Just where the house sits, the auxiliary. That's the cleanest way to get it done, and to get the support of everyone. I object to and rezoning over property.
Is what?
It's what?
So I have a question for you. If you do that, I'm just looking at the house and property. Say someone comes in and buys it, they demolish it, and they decide they want to put something else in there without a restriction, you can't prohibit them from doing that. But now we're putting restrictions.
Now we're putting restrictions.
Doesn't have to be the whole thing.
No, this is true. I'm
But
just
it's
thinking,
restrictions,
we're
still
only saying,
restrictions.
But I'm looking at that property and have these restrictions, not go, to follow the new owner. The new owner has to come here.
but he's saying if we split the property, he's on the small section, right?
Why not just?
Hold on, if I split his property, say right here,
Mhm.
and I come in and I offer them lump sum of money for that little section there, and I demolish it, and I want to throw in a salvage yard, you cannot stop me, because it's been zoned for business. at that
Right,
time,
that's what I'm saying.
So that's what I'm saying, so now we're gonna have them split the property to put restrictions on it.
That'll make sense.
Just call them more. I feel like.
I think the best method, and what seems very agreeable to everybody currently at this point, was with the agreement that you're discussing, before we go through and we,
Written commitment.
written commitment.
And my thoughts was on it, we signed the commitment that we are rezoning for the purpose of the Beef Boutique LLC.
Right.
That it is only for that business to be there, no other business to, nothing else that we decide to do, no other business to come in. It is limited to that 15 by 15 area in our building. And if we were ever to sell it, I mean, that just goes away. It goes back and it sells as that. That was my intentions on it.
Yeah, we see that portion. But wait, if you zone it business, there's a book by my kids that says what you can do.
What if we do the?
Yeah, we do what he said, then I think it'll work for what you want. Because we're not against you having your business. I'd like to see anybody have a business.
But we want to make sure that when we sell that business, the new owner doesn't automatically
And
pay.
I believe that, I believe that would
I
have
think
to be,
this covers it.
if it's reported, that would be.
Yeah, I think that's the way.
Record it, and then
Yeah, you can record it, that goes to all property owners. The statute actually calls for commitment may contain terms providing for its own expiration.
So it would expire
the
upon sale.
rezoning would expire.
So you could probably make it double if they quit operating the business or if they transferred the property in any way.
Well, then, so okay with the board, I would like to make the motion that we pass forward a favorable recommendation with a written commitment that Mr. Persinger draft up that isolates it to that building for their use, just that business. It'll cease when the property transfers in any way, shape, or form, or if they decide to close it, then we'll just have it revert back then too, or whatever other options we think we need to add to it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second.
We'll have discussion.
Okay,
Should we take action on that until we see what the agreement is going to,
See
we
what-
have to sign the agreement?
Once it's done.
This way we take action on it.
well, I kind of
Let's
listed
prove it for general business. Something falls through. I would think that we would table our action till
all the time. We gave him the outline of the things we wanted to see.
They are signing that. I don't think anybody here objects to talking about having it, but I don't think that. For signature by both parties.
How long will it take us for you to get that contract?
Well, if you have a month, we're not gonna review it until next month,
Okay, right.
but
We'll have a special meeting.
there's always a special meeting. When's your next commissioners meeting?
The commissioners meet they have twice a month.
Okay,
I mean, the other issue about a special meeting, take any affirmative action, you need a majority of the entire commission. So you gotta get 7 votes at one time. You'd have to make sure at least you have 7 votes. I mean, you're close tonight, you only have 9 here now. So to take any action, you're gonna have to have almost unanimous, even tonight. But I mean, obviously next month, what, you guys tell me what you want, and all money gonna happen. I mean,
so do you,
but you're talking a written commitment, it's what you guys would approve. I mean, it's obviously they'd have to be agreeable to the petitioner.
I think if we list what we think that we would want in there, we're making a recommendation to the commissioner. This is not the final thing. They could make tweaks to what we
Right.
recommend to them.
And the
You know,
statute
so
gives
they're
you
the ones that are
authority.
gonna write the final language, actually. We're just recommending.
Right.
So we say these are the things that we would feel comfortable or need in there.
And they very well may disagree with it once it's presented.
But that's the option they
Yeah,
have.
yes, absolutely.
So we're really just making a recommendation. We'd like to see these things in there. They could tweak it, add or subtract. So we could wait and have but it's gonna it could very well get adjusted at the commission. So,
Not likely. That would happen,
well,
and we would all be. Waiting for that to happen. That can't happen until the commission.
right.
One more month's gonna kill you.
No.
Is the building actually 15 by 15, or is that just one part of the building?
That's one part of the building that has the concrete in it. So we have an allotted space that's got concrete floor, that's where we're going to put the two other walls to have that small little office.
It was in your pictures.
It's just not very big. I was looking at the overall building. I just think that's. So what township is it in?
Yeah, is it up there?
Yeah, we got it.
Is it up there?
Okay. Just checking. It wasn't right on
Can I take-
there. I forgot about that.
So we're here, basically, am I hearing that we want to table? Well, we got to move.
I'll withdraw my motion.
So the motion's been withdrawn. So then we want to direct our council to work up an agreement between the landowner acceptable for restrictions on the property.
And what I'm hearing, the notes I have is operation of Beef Boutique LLC only. It'd be limited to a certain area, which is probably, I would say it's going to have to be bigger than 15 by 15. So, you know, it's going to have to encompass some parking, some area. I mean, it's going to have to be, you all agree with that? That we'll work out an area that's reasonable. I mean, not 30 some acres. And that expires on their transfer of the real property or abandonment of the business. Anything else?
And then reverts back to.
Reverts back to agriculture at that time.
Any other comments? All right. Yes.
Do you have a number, like you said, that small area? What size area would you think would be comfortable to be a little bit larger, so that way you can kind of switch it around?
I mean, including parking,
Mhm.
is that what we're including? I mean, that barn lot there is where we do parking for the people that come to the kennel. So right in front of that implement building is where we do our parking currently. We'll come and drop off dogs and those sorts of things.
Because we want to make it have it larger. There's no sense in, just approving a small area. If she has growth, then she's not.
First off, she only knows about the size of a small barn or one-car garage.
Right.
If they ever got bigger, she's gonna be
You know, if you have growth, you don't.
Well, I
have-
felt like the issue was you didn't want it to get bigger.
You know?
So, I mean, in
No,
my
I know.
head, I already have this concrete area that I just want
That's
to
why
put
I
a
wanted
freezer in and my reception desk and then
Right.
my wall of, you know.
That's why I want you to be able to have room to
Yeah, I
grow.
want you to approve, language that says growth, and not just limit to that small area, because whether you grow or not, you still have the area and you don't have to come back to us to approve it. So,
Well,
yeah.
then you're kind of,
Yeah.
do you want us to do it or do you want
Yeah.
us to grow, or
Yeah.
you don't really know,
Yeah, we
you know,
want you to grow.
what the
We
general
want-
consensus
Yeah, we want
is
you to
gonna
grow.
For business is a good thing. We'd like to see it take off and do well.
Mhm.
The only concern is that being it's agricultural, is that if it ever changes hands, it goes back that way. That's really the only concern. It's not really whether.
Well, as far as with the contract being written, that if it ever does change hands,
Right,
it
right,
goes back.
right.
Mhm.
Everyone's covered and everyone is
Right.
safe.
And at this point, it's just a matter of,
So that, I mean, at that point, what's the point in just that building instead of the whole 33 acres? I mean, if,
Well, that's probably, well, between between the office and Kyle and you, we'll come up with a reasonable.
and I think
a reasonable
that's
area.
why there was the request to wait till it comes back so we can hash that out, get a good agreement. look it over, everyone will feel comfortable, and
Then send it on to the commissioner.
All right, so we kind of know where we're going, so we get it written up and maybe definitely out before our next meeting.
I'll get it, I mean, working with them, I
Right.
think they'll agree with me that I'll get it to you guys for review prior to the next meeting.
Yes.
So you don't come to the meeting, that way you guys can have some time to review it.
Review and
So I think if we look at a 2.5 week timeline, she has an attorney I can get with her counsel, you know, I think we kind of got the terms here. I could put something together for their consideration.
All right. So you withdrew the motion, directed Kyle to make up some agreement,
probably need a motion to table.
retable it, carry on. Or did you just table it?
So moved.
All right, so motion has been made, second, to table this until,
He returns.
until Kyle returns with, an agreement between property owners and we need a call on that when you're ready, Frank.
Rockwell,
Yes.
Sprinkle,
Yes.
Cottle, House,
Yes.
Jones.
Yeah.
Fleming,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yeah.
Monroe,
Yes.
Buckles,
Tyson, you out there, Tyson?
Yes, I'm trying. I couldn't get it off mute.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right, so now go on the reports. Kyle, you got anything for us?
We talked a little bit board of zoning appeals and we talked about the, presentation of meetings. A law has been adopted regarding electronic communications at meetings. So in the near future, expect some, rules you'll probably have to adopt, how you want to handle electronic as we go forward. And so it's going to be here to stay. When the emergency order stops, you're still going to have the ability to have electronic participation at meetings. You've got to adopt some rules, so that'll be in the near future. Brian and I have been working on all kinds of issues, demolition. I think Brian's going to talk about unsafe building laws, so there'll be a lot of things, I think, coming up that we've been discussing. And I think the plan is, you know, have a presentation next board meeting about some more substantive enforcement proceedings and how we're going to proceed legally, et cetera. So that's all I have at this time.
Ryan?
I've got a lot. One of the things I wanted to bring up, we had talked about Tamarack, went back out there today, and I've actually got pictures I was gonna take around of the way it looks today. I won't waste a lot of time on it, but compared to originally, when we first started talking about it, the cleanup on the property is night and day. So it's looking really good. I had a chance to talk to Alan out there a little bit today. Looks like they're doing a really good job on it. You'll see, it doesn't look like a war zone anymore so much, which is really good. With that, another thing to bring up is we were out to Liberty Trailer Park, which is out 9 and 26. By the outpost. They got permits to replace meters out there. And while we were out there, they had brought in like an additional 15 trailers into that trailer park. Most of them are gutted, location permits, remodel permits. The bigger thing that we ran into is they have got sewage issues throughout. We actually went back out Friday with Steve Erie with the state and our health department, local health department. We tagged 2 trailers uninhabitable that had literally 6 inches of standing sewage under 75% of both trailers. our health department and Steve Erie are working with them. I know they had someone out working on it today. They've got crushed lines out there. They've got a lot of issues as far as the septic and sanitation goes. So we're just kind of bringing that to your attention that we've got some issues now in another trailer park that literally was getting ready to double their trailers. And with what is out there right now, their system can't handle. And it's actually, we've got pictures of overflow cleanouts that are full of water with circles around them from sewage overflowing up and out.
It was getting ready to double
Right.
the occupancy.
Right. And we went out to do 13 meters, and as we're walking around, I left Aaron. He was doing the meters. I'm just staring at these trailers, going from trailer to trailer, seeing all this stuff. So I got everyone out. But just to kind of heads up, that's what's going on out there. Another thing I wanted to bring up, the APC again, just to start thinking about is possibly putting together a review committee for our ordinance, even into our rules of procedure. The deeper, and I think Kyle will agree with me on this, the deeper we get into this, the more issues. We're finding a lot, making less of it, but if you guys would be willing to sit down or start thinking about possibly some of us sitting down and starting to review it through. I'm open to suggestions on that. If not, we'll kind of do it, but I thought you guys might want to be involved in that.
Well, I know Bob made a lot of effort in looking at our rules and procedures and that's so much. And I think we do need to get a small group together and point some things.
Just an update on the office. We did get our new vehicle, but we don't have plates yet. So Nicole got her vehicle, but she can't drive it. So that upsets her. She's got the keys. She can get in. We've also got her tablet ordered. That's going to be big because her tablet's going to allow her to get some work done in the field as opposed to have to come back and physically put everything in. We're still struggling as far as time goes. I can't hardly get her out of the office. Got so much going on in the office right now. They gave me, we did this year as of 4/30, April 30th, we've done 256 permits so far this year. Last year at this same time, we were at 155. The year before, we were at 168. The year before, 179. So a lot of what happens with Nicole is not only she buried with her own paperwork, but she takes a lot of the overflow either from Brenda or from the front desk or from the phone, or she's usually second to get involved. I can tell her, I almost want to kick her out of the office so I can get her out of there, but I don't know how we, if we didn't have that extra help. So that's something that I want to keep in the back of the executive secretary, whether or not we want to hire additional personnel, leave that for the budget. But that is one thing we are really struggling with as far as help. Speaking of Nicole, we'll come up and talk about some of our demolition that we have going on.
Okay. So I understand we were at a pause point because the highway department was taking a break so they can catch up on their own work. I talked to David White today, and we are going to, I have to send out my 10-day letters. So as of right now, tomorrow I'll be sending out my 10-day letters to Mr. Puckett on 2 of his properties and Mr. Isaac. On May 17th is when we will be able to start the demos. They have until Friday, the 14th, to get whatever they're doing done. But in 10 days, 17th is when we can start the demolition. We're going to begin with the trailer on Walker Street, just because it's going to take them less than a day to do, and then I believe we're going to start on Isaac shortly after. And then once we get these 3 down, we're going to get down the Walker Street, Mr. Isaac's, and then we're getting another one on Puckett's on Main Street down, because they're the worst ones, and obviously they're out in the open. Get those 3 down. 9th and Main. Okay, sorry. We're going to get those 3 down because they're the worst ones seen on the main roads. That's not the end of it, but but then they're gonna take another break to get caught back up on the work that they have to do in the highway department, recess, and start again with the list.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and one of the things, again, when we talk about going through, Nicole does this great little list that she's got working on and stuff. We have got stuff out there from 2010, 2008, 2013, 2014, 2014, 2015. We are so busy dealing with stuff from 5, 6, 10 years ago that we're not dealing with anything out there right now.
Right, that's where we need to.
That's kind of, that's
Another
getting kind
person
of
in the office
frustrating.
to handle all the paperwork so she can go bring today's stuff in.
One thing that we have found, we haven't sent bills out yet. We
Yeah.
haven't got the bills finalized. But one thing that we are finding with we started with 44,000, we got an additional 70. But so far for the first 4 that's come in, we've only spent half as much as we thought. So that's going to allow us to get some additional stuff down. We've got some court orders in here that 2016, we had, the 30 days elapsed and we can tear it down.
But the issue we're running across is the fact that they were issued a permit. So now we're working with Kyle to figure out, do we go back in and get another court order to demo, or can we go off the former one? But with them having that permit for the 2 years that they were allowed to do it, we're trying to figure that one out.
I'm uncomfortable working off a 2015
Yeah, I would
court
be too.
demolition order when this
I would-
office has given permits to the same person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we talk about the unsafe building laws, we're going to talk about quicker enforcement action. So that's what we hope to bring to your guys' consideration next month meeting. Ryan and I have a meeting this week where we're still discussing that. So we hope to have get your guys' direction as far as what way you want Ryan in the office to go. But to my advice, my opinion is I would not demolish any building based on a 6-year-old court order when this office has issued 2 building permits on that since that time.
I wouldn't think any problem.
I think we get by.
So there's a new one that I think is gonna go to the top of the list just because it's a good order. and it's
Yeah,
ready to go.
yes,
Right.
yes.
So, because, I understand Ryan's position, which makes sense, is you've got the money allocated, you wanna make use of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't have funds or while they didn't around for long, and then, like I say, it's. All right, anything else, Ryan? You got one more?
Anything else?
I think we cut them up on everything we need to get done.
Okay. There was one more thing I wanted to bring up at the last Grant County Council meeting. Mark can attest to this, when they okayed our 70,000 to get transferred over. We had a gentleman from Jonesboro come up to the podium to speak and thank the council for everything that we're doing in Jonesboro. Just kind of random, but it was pretty neat. Wanted to make you guys aware of that. Oh, yeah, I do have one. I almost forgot it again. In the excitement of the last meeting of actually having the building inspector, I forgot to ask him if I could have him.
You're in the door, guys.
So again, this is Aaron Ellsworth.
Hello again, Chairman, Chairwoman.
According to our procedures, you guys ask some questions and what have you, but it's up to you to vote them in.
I'll go around too. So basically, from what I understand, he's hired in and he's been working out well. And we just have to have our blessing, basically.
Yes.
I'll make the motion when we vote 70.
Second.
Oh, we did that before.
Yeah, okay, so we have a motion from Rex, and second by Bob, I think you did. All right, somewhere down through here.
No questions this time? No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
say- All right. We all voted yes, there's no nays.
Well, this is gonna be a future process. This is Mr. Bothwell came talk to me, about, what's been done. Obviously your guys' position is to hire the executive director. The executive director makes any other hire subject to the approval or denial of the commission. I'm not sure that's always been followed in the past. So, Bob brought it to my attention. I said, that's right. Talked to Ryan. So any other staff additions in the future will be subject to your approval or denial.
Actual employment of, thereof.
Yes.
I went through Justin and
Yeah.
so
Well-
for all the reading I've done, I've never read what he read to me.
I've been sweating it for a couple of weeks, but I just don't.
Do you think you get paid for it?
No, no, yep, been doing the work, so. No questions?
I've got one more thing.
Okay.
Anytime the applicants have pass out information for us, I think that needs to be given to you. You pass it out, because we have so many people doing so many different things at one time. So we want to keep it consistent that if it's passed out, give it to you.
And I think Bob brought up a good point. I believe that's supposed to be ahead of time, so we have time.
Right.
Right.
Right, instead of everybody
Well,
passing out.
In that case, I had talked to Kyle about getting that stuff to you, but because we were in the middle of a public hearing, I couldn't introduce it outside.
Okay.
So that's why I told her to bring it to you.
Yeah, your rules of procedure say any documents are supposed to be 2 days ahead of the hearing.
Right, and not passed out.
Right.
That's not good.
Right.
But I'm good.
All right, so those are other reasons why we need to go through and critique our procedures, let me know what they are, and, try to follow.
You think we can do it this time, or?
Bob did a good review from what I understand, but we do need to get together. That's one today to go through that and see where we might need to make some adjustments. Any other business? You want, Bob would like to have an official roll call on the last motion before hiring.
Kyle, since he was technically hired before we voted on him, does that vote need to be retroactive to his hire date to ensure that he's paid?
I would, but from my understanding, you guys haven't been doing it for years.
Okay. I just.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to do things appropriately.
So for the sake of
That's-
appropriate, then,
I would
I'll
retract.
make the motion that we approve his hire retroactive to when you actually hired him. To ensure that his pay stays.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we need to roll.
Bothwell,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
House,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yeah.
Monroe,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
All right, there's no other business, I'll make, entertain a motion to adjourn. There's no public use. Is there no public input? You have a motion?
Make the motion that we adjourn.
All right, second.
I'd second that.
All. Meeting adjourned. So you're available to study. You retirees. I know, I didn't see the note, but I saw the package. I didn't actually read it.